ways to think about finances. And you and I have a very similar model because we've done the same thing. We grew up where the average middle-class person, they're doing what their parents taught them. And it's this cyclical mindset. And I'm like, you don't just save for a rainy day, work for the same company forever and put into stocks, bonds, mutual funds. That's not what the rich are doing. Like, we need to stop this barrier because they're not exposed to that. You don't have rich friends. Parents aren't rich. Like, it's a different mindset. It's a different thought. You and I really challenge people. Your time is your most valuable asset. How can we create income streams in your life? These aren't unicorns. These are myths. Like, how do we reshift things? You have so much value to give to the world to create other income streams versus you just work more and more time to make more money, because eventually you're going to run out of that. So you and I have very similar philosophies, and especially, I'm not going to say, but when I used to work for the other company, it's a great longstanding company, but you could only promote the products that you sold, or the ones that got the highest cut somehow got a bias versus that was really what was best for people. So I really love when there's not that conflict, that pressure of a sales and a tiered, and you join a team, and to stay on, you have to hit this productivity level. People don't realize in the backdrops, these financial planners may have a different opinion they want to give you based on the corporation they work for. They can't. So tell a little bit about the difference between independent financial planners and what you offer as that alternative therapy approach.
Oh, I love it. Love how you explain that. Yeah. So there's essentially two different modes of being. One, you can be a captive agent, and that's a similar situation in terms of working primarily with one company, so like Edward Jones or State Farm. And if you contract with them, essentially any clients that you work with become their book of business. And so you're able to help some more people because you're under a larger umbrella in that sense. But at the same time, you don't really retain that client relationship, which is different than how I work, which my clients will be my clients forever, as long as they want to keep working with me. It's just something I really value. Secondly, just like you said, there are so many different types of strategies and tools out there. And when you are a captive agent, you can only promote those types of strategies to clients. You can't say, for instance, and I've had someone who's a captive agent tell me, I agree with you about 401ks, but I could never say that, my company would come down on me when it comes to 401ks, which is something most people think is a great investment option, but they don't understand that they have a partner in that 401k, that there's no guarantee of a company match. There's no guarantee that they're actually going to retain what they put into that, because it's still a risk in the stock market.
Especially nowadays, the unreliability of the stock market, and a lot of the data they're using is so manipulated. Like, it drives me crazy. I would sit in these meetings. They're like, oh, the stock market always goes up. And I'm like, yeah, the last 15 years because of the Federal Reserve. But if you look at the last 100 years, no, like the Great Depression, like it took them 45 years to break even to what they lost. But the data is so skewed. And you and I are on that same core belief. Like, we want to diversify not just your skills and your revenue streams. You could choose a little in the stocks. What about commodities? What about real estate? What about business ownership? What about royalties? And of course, like, you and I get people to think outside the box of diversifying isn't just, I'm going to put all my money in a 401k and then it's stocks, bonds, mutual funds. That's not diversification. I mean, you and I could talk so much about the struggling banking system and all these bonds that were in SVB. They didn't get bailed out with the FDIC. Like, you and I can go down the rabbit hole. But for the average person listening to this, it gets me excited, because I'm like, people need to know this stuff. You and I are about financial empowerment, woman empowerment, family empowerment. We started initially in healthcare, and we saw the bigger impact that finances has to everything. We could try to make you as healthy as possible, but you're going to have stress, and now you can't choose XYZ services because the money's not there. You now lost some quality time with your kids, and you couldn't do the vacation. You couldn't do all these life bucket things you wanted to do because of money. So I'm excited for you joining the team, Mandy. I really, really am. And I think it should be important for the midwives to hear, especially, like, you live and breathe midwifery too, even though you are a midwife advocate. I don't know how much you want to tell about your personal life, but you're having a baby soon, and like, you are picking a midwife and birth center. And so you love helping midwives just as much as you love being a client of a midwife.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm so grateful because all these years working in the holistic health industry before I shifted more into business and finance, I've always had such a deep appreciation for doulas and midwives. And I never ventured into, I guess, that area. And I think it's an okay thing for me, but I've had a deep appreciation. And now being almost 37 weeks pregnant, I'm very grateful that I am able to have my baby at the only midwifery clinic in the state of South Dakota, which is an hour away from where I live. And, it's very serendipitous having met you around this time as well, too, because they are doing something very new and innovative. At the same time, it's like, I wish there were so many other clinics as well in the state. There needs to be more. And as I've talked women in South Dakota as well, the vast majority of them said, I wish that was an option. I wish that was an option when I had my baby, whether it be 2 years ago, because this clinic hasn't been open very long, or 10 years ago, or they go, I just wish I knew more about it. And so being able to live this now, but also be able to help midwives is just, it makes my heart very happy.